living in a world where people care for one another, and the importance of feeling connected that are founded in the earliest years of our lives.
Now in the United Kingdom, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has announced that she has cancer and is undergoing chemotherapy. Her condition was disclosed in a video message. This follows weeks of speculation about her whereabouts and her health since she was admitted to hospital in January. For the royal family this morning, in the wake of Princess Kate's announcement that she is being treated for cancer, Kate Middleton's recent journey has left many wondering if the royal family is quietly preparing for a future without her. Following her cancer diagnosis, her royal duties came to a grinding halt. It is the statement that echoed throughout the world. Kate Middleton, now diagnosed with cancer and undergoing chemotherapy. For a woman many saw as the heart of the monarchy, her diminished presence threatened everything she stood for. But what happens if she never fully returns? And why is she so important in royal circles? Join us as we reveal the untold story behind Kate's cancer diagnosis. Kate Middleton's health issues. This may shatter the hearts of royal family lovers, but the hard truth is that Kate Middleton might be slowly saying goodbye. And people can feel it. The palace didn't make any statement about it, but everything around her has changed. The quiet moments, the missed events, and the sudden changes in her husband's schedule. It all speaks louder than any words. Since her diagnosis, things haven't just paused, they've changed. It all started with her cancer diagnosis in March 2024. The news rattled the entire nation that had only recently begun to settle after the passing of Queen Elizabeth. For weeks before that announcement, rumors had been swirling. People noticed her absence. There were no new pictures. Royal events carried on without her. And with every silence from the palace, the worry grew. When the news finally came, it landed like a punch to the chest. However, just when we thought we'd seen the worst, what happened next changed the entire story. Stay tuned to find out more. The cancer was discovered after an abdominal surgery last year. At first, there was no mention of anything serious. But as the days turned into weeks and the updates grew colder, something began to feel off. Then came the truth, shared through a short video filmed outside in Windsor. The message was soft, but powerful, calm, but emotional. It wasn't just an update. It felt like a personal moment shared with millions, one that carried the weight of something far bigger than a medical statement. I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. She didn't give every detail, and she didn't need to. What mattered was what it meant. The Princess of Wales wasn't stepping away because she wanted a break. She was stepping into the most brutal battle of her life, and this came just weeks after King Charles confirmed his fight with cancer, throwing the royal family into a double crisis the country hadn't seen before. Two of the most important figures in the monarchy were now fighting battles no crown could shield them from. Kate made it clear that her children needed protection from the noise. She asked for privacy, not just for herself, but for George, Charlotte, and Louis as well. That alone told people this wasn't a brief pause from the public. This was the kind of situation that didn't come with guarantees. And that's when it hit home. This wasn't just a royal moment. It was a human one. Immediately, everything on her royal calendar was wiped clean. Engagements, appearances, and meetings, both public and private, were put on hold. It was the first time since she joined the royal family that her presence vanished entirely from public life. There are no balcony waves, no charity events, no speeches or small smiles were captured on camera. The image of a hard-working royal who always seemed to hold it all together suddenly disappeared. And that silence said more than words ever could. But that wasn't all. Prince William also began adjusting his schedule. At first, it seemed like a quiet move, but it didn't take long for people to understand. He was stepping back, not because of protocol, but because of love. He needed to be at home, with her, with their kids. The seriousness of her illness started to show not in what was said, but in what wasn't. Royal aides stopped predicting her return. Reporters stopped asking about her next event. Instead, everyone began waiting quietly and with growing fear. Kate missed the Easter celebrations. She wasn't seen at Trooping the Color. These weren't just ceremonial appearances. They were traditions that shaped the country's perception of its royal figures. Her absence from them confirmed that this was more than just a pause. People began wondering if she would return at all. Behind palace walls, staff were told to prepare for the long haul. Her recovery, they said, would be open-ended. There were no deadlines, no expected return months, and no rushed plans. It was an uncertain road ahead, and the palace wasn't going to pretend otherwise. That honesty only made the situation feel heavier. Across the UK, the news sparked something deeper than headlines. People weren't just reacting to the illness of a royal. They were responding to the thought of losing someone who had become part of the nation's rhythm. Kate wasn't flashy or loud. She was steady. She showed up, and now that presence was gone. For many, it brought back the sadness they felt when Queen Elizabeth passed, the sense that a steady hand was slipping away again. A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The palace has just issued this statement. It says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The mood shifted. It wasn't just about her role, her beauty, or her grace anymore. It became about her life, her health, her family. The story shifted from being about duty to being about survival. And when people spoke about her, they didn't talk like fans of royalty. They spoke like neighbors, friends, mothers and daughters who understood what it meant to face something that didn't care about status or title. It became clear that her illness wasn't going to be something the palace could manage with statements or staged photos. This was different. This was real. And it brought the royal family closer to the public, not through events or celebrations, but through shared pain. The UK had just begun to adjust to life after Queen Elizabeth. The currency was changing, the stamps, the ceremonies. And now, here was another shift, this time not due to age, but to illness. People who had finally begun to accept Charles as king were now watching his daughter-in-law, the future queen, vanish from view. It was too much, too fast. Kate had become more than a symbol of royal grace. She had become a connection point between the old and the new. Her illness wasn't just private, it was political, emotional, and symbolic. It left behind questions no one wanted to ask, but everyone was thinking, and even in silence, even while out of sight, she remained the center of the conversation. The story of Kate's diagnosis didn't end with the video in Windsor. That moment was only the beginning. Are you wondering how one woman's fight could quietly change the future of the crown? Keep watching to find out. Kate Middleton's role in the royal family. Before the world saw Kate Middleton as a patient fighting a private health battle, she was widely seen as the strongest bridge between the past and the future of the royal family. Her journey from Duchess to Princess of Wales wasn't just about changing titles. It was about rising steadily into one of the most potent and visible roles within the monarchy. She earned it step by step, year by year, not by headlines or controversy, but by showing up and doing the work in a way that looked effortless, but carried deep responsibility. In 2090, Queen Elizabeth herself made that clear when she awarded Kate the Dame Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. It was more than a medal. It was the Queen's way of saying Kate had served the crown with loyalty and excellence. The honor has been given specifically because it was the 8th wedding anniversary of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. But it is quite usual for royal ladies to receive this honor. Few people ever receive such a high level of royal recognition. For Kate, it was a quiet but firm stamp of approval from the most respected monarch in British history. By 2024, as she was already battling a private health challenge, another rare honor came her way. Princess Anne herself, who was always known for her no-nonsense standards and commitment to tradition, awarded Kate the Royal Companion of Honor. It shocked even long-time royal watchers, not because Kate didn't deserve it, but because the award itself is usually reserved for figures outside the royal family. Giving it to Kate was a sign that even among royals, she stood apart. She wasn't just a supportive wife or smiling public figure, she'd become essential. But Kate's influence didn't stop at awards. She carried real responsibility. She held military titles like Colonel of the Irish Guards and Royal Honorary Air Commandant of the RAF Air Cadets. These were not symbolic roles. They tied her directly to British history and tradition, particularly among the armed forces community. Whenever she attended parades, presented medals, or wore a military uniform, it reminded the public that the monarchy wasn't just about ceremonies. It was about service and connection. Outside of palace walls, she poured her time into over 20 major charities and organizations. She didn't just lend her name to them. She showed up, learned the systems, asked tough questions, and worked to create change. Her focus was consistent and deliberate: early childhood development, mental health, addiction recovery, and the arts. She wasn't chasing popular trends. She was building foundations in areas that shaped real lives, often quietly and far from the cameras. That is not all. One of her most significant personal endeavors was the launch of the Shaping Us campaign. It wasn't just another royal initiative. It was a full-on national conversation about how the early years of a child's life affect everything that follows. Through this, she spoke to educators, policymakers, scientists, and parents, building a bridge between research and real-world change. It was bold, ambitious, and entirely led by her voice and vision. The public didn't just see a princess with good intentions. They saw a leader with clear goals. As Princess of Wales, her expectations doubled. The public looked to her not just as William's wife, but as someone preparing for a future throne. She had to be warm without being casual, strong without being distant, and she walked that line every day. Whether it was at state banquets beside foreign heads of state or during overseas royal tours that carried political weight, Kate showed a calm authority that made her presence reassuring. There were moments when the monarchy found itself on unstable ground. Scandals involving Prince Andrew and the ongoing divide between Harry and Meghan created turbulence. Through it all, Kate's ability to maintain a steady image helped hold the public's trust. Her reactions were measured. She never seemed rattled, and by doing so, she helped the institution appear steady even when the foundation felt like it was shaking. After the death of Queen Elizabeth, the royal family needed someone to step forward who could ease that transition. King Charles was stepping into a role he had waited decades to claim, but the emotional weight left behind by the Queen's passing was still fresh. It was Kate who helped carry the public's affection forward. She took over traditions with grace and made new ones feel natural. For younger generations who didn't grow up watching the Queen, Kate became the face they most connected with. In private, those around her understood her role was more than appearances. She was a future queen consort. Her popularity wasn't just helpful, though. It was necessary. Her ability to engage with both the public and the press made her one of the royal family's most valuable figures. That kind of influence isn't assigned. It's earned, and she had earned it long before any illness took her out of view. What made her stand out wasn't just what she did. It was how she did it, with consistency, with intention. Without drama, there was no push for attention, no flashy headlines. She moved the monarchy forward without dismantling it. For people inside the palace, she became the quiet force holding things together. All of this made her diagnosis feel even heavier. It was a moment where the royal family had to reckon with the idea that one of their most crucial members might be sidelined. And not temporarily. The timing made it more intense. With King Charles already ill and public confidence hanging by a thread, Kate's absence created a vacuum no one else could fill. But behind the awards, the titles, and the public image, there was still a mother, a wife, and a woman. The more people learned about what she had achieved and carried on her shoulders, the more it became clear how much was at stake. And that service had touched almost every part of the modern monarchy. The story was no longer just about how Kate fit into the royal family. It was about what might happen to that family without her presence. And as her treatment continued in silence, one question quietly lingered behind the palace gates. What happens to a crown when the person holding it all together begins to let go, even if just for a while? That answer the country would begin to see in the days that followed, when the illness started pulling not just at one woman, but at the heart of an entire family. Can the royal family cope without Kate Middleton? As Kate Middleton focused on her recovery behind closed doors, the impact of her absence didn't fall on the palace alone. It landed right at the center of her home, Prince William quietly took on a new kind of role, not just as the heir to the throne, but as a husband holding his family together in the face of something no title can soften. It began with small tasks that soon became part of his daily routine. Running errands in the morning, reading bedtime stories at night, packing lunches, and assisting with homework. This wasn't royal protocol anymore. This was parenting at its most genuine. With Kate undergoing treatment, the couple decided to keep life as normal as possible for their children. George, Charlotte, and Louis weren't given the full details, but they knew something was different. They understood in their way that Mummy wasn't feeling well. Palace sources said the message was simple enough for children to understand, yet gentle enough not to scare them. William canceled overseas trips. Nothing else mattered more than being there for Kate. Every appearance he made now felt different. People noticed the change in his posture, the slower way he walked, and the look in his eyes. His voice was steady, but the spark was dimmer. He wasn't just representing the royal family anymore. He was a man carrying too much on his shoulders. According to royal watchers, the conversations were shifting inside their home. Insiders said the couple shared long and emotional talks about what might come next, what their children would need, what William would have to carry. They weren't just talking about royal roles. They were discussing life and legacy, love, and what would be left behind if things didn't go the way they had hoped. During Kate's hardest weeks, Charles and Camilla offered to step in. They weren't just showing support as king and queen. They were showing up as parents and grandparents. They helped with the children, offered presents, and tried to bring moments of comfort to a household that had become too quiet. It was a rare opportunity to see the softer, more human side of a family that often presents itself behind a facade of formality. That is not all. Royal observers also noted that George, the eldest, started showing signs of the pressure in small but visible ways. Teachers at his school noticed that he had grown quieter and more serious. Staff were asked to keep an eye on him to ensure he had the emotional support he needed. The palace didn't want him to carry more than he had to, but at his age, it was hard not to notice that things at home weren't the same. Charlotte and Louis were protected even more closely. Louis, the youngest, had his schedule adjusted to give him more time at home and less disruption in his routine. The family didn't want the stress of travel or too many public obligations to detract from the one thing they were fighting to preserve: stability inside the home. Every part of the household was reworked. Staff adjusted their duties. Public engagements were scaled back. The press office began shifting its strategies, offering less detail and choosing words even more carefully. And behind it all, a quieter operation had started. The palace began drawing up contingency plans, not just for King Charles, whose own health was still uncertain, but also for the possibility that Kate might not return to royal life at full strength or at all. That idea, whispered in private, forced the monarchy to confront a future it had never truly prepared for. Kate wasn't just a figure of public affection. She was a working part of the royal system. Her absence wasn't like turning off a light and waiting to switch it back on. It meant something was now missing at the core, something no one else could easily replace, and the impact of that reached further than anyone first imagined. For William, the days began to stretch longer. Balancing royal responsibility with personal pain became an everyday challenge. He was seen more often alone, standing without Kate at his side. The contrast was striking. Where once they appeared as a team, now he looked like a man walking two paths at once, one of public duty and one of private heartache. The royal family had long taken pride in being a symbol of stability, but this was different. This wasn't about succession or politics. It was about a mother trying to recover, a father trying to hold it together, and three children who just wanted things to feel normal again. And as the family braced for whatever might come next, the public began to understand that this wasn't just a pause in the usual royal calendar. This was a turning point. Because when the person at the center of it all steps back, even for the most human of reasons, everything else has to find a new balance. As plans crept behind palace doors, one question began to take root in the minds of many. If Kate couldn't return fully to her role, what would that mean not just for her family, but for the crown itself? At the height of the tension, something interesting happened. After months of uncertainty, Kate Middleton finally made her return after her chemotherapy. There was no fanfare. I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding. Just a quiet note within palace walls that her treatment had come to an end. But even before the public saw her, she had already stepped back into royal life. Just differently, she began working privately again with the Royal Foundation. Not from the spotlight, but behind the scenes, guiding projects and maintaining her connection to causes she had long championed. It was not until recent months that people truly saw her again. Her first public appearance was at the Royal Marsden Hospital. She arrived in calm tones, looking delicate but strong, marking her first on-camera confirmation that she was in remission. She thanked her doctors in a soft but powerful way and used the moment to spotlight the work of cancer specialists, shifting the focus away from herself and toward a bigger purpose. Then came Commonwealth Day in March, her first ceremonial royal event since her diagnosis. This was her way of saying she was back, but the way she carried herself told even more. She was not trying to prove strength through appearance. She demonstrated strength by doing things her way and at her own pace. Her presence at the 2025 Order of the Garter and later at Trooping the Colors showed that she was willing to return, but not to overextend. She looked elegant as always, but more reserved. Her smile came softer, her energy was measured. She stood tall, but there was a visible awareness that every appearance now required balance. In June, behind the scenes, a subtle yet crucial change took place. She met privately with Melinda Gates at Windsor Castle. It was not a loud event. It did not trend on social media, but for those who follow royal diplomacy, it was a clear sign. Kate was back in her role as a quiet strategist, returning to the kind of charitable leadership that does not chase attention, but creates long-term results. Just weeks later, she visited Colchester Hospital and took part in planting a new flower named Catherine's Rose. Her words that day were humble. She admitted that recovery was still tough. That honesty struck a chord with many people watching. The good news is that Princess Kate is back and stronger than ever. Without her, the royal family may never remain the same. Thank you for staying with us. Do you think the royal family can cope without Princess Kate? Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen and you will enjoy it.